Most respected Thai, dear beloved community, today is the 29th of February in the year 2024. We are in the Upper Hamlet, the Dharma Cloud Temple, in the Stillwater Meditation Hall. And today we continue to look at the 14 verses of Shamatha and Vipassana. Let us enjoy 3 sounds of the bell in order to come back to our true island in the present moment. Breathing in, I know I am alive. Breathing out, I smile to the life that is in me and around me. So, most respected Thai, dear beloved community, last time we saw the necessity for stopping in our daily life. But we know also that stopping on its own is not enough. We need to look deeply in order to have insight into the way things are, because it is that insight that will liberate us from our suffering. Stopping already liberates us to quite a large extent, but it does not liberate us completely. So we need to be able to look deeply. And on our own, we probably would not have the chance to know how to look deeply and what to look deeply into. So we are very grateful to our ancestral teachers who have trodden the path before us and can therefore show us the way to tread the path, to show us the way what we need to be able to look deeply into. And that is what we will discover in the verses that follow. So let us look at verse number 6. Looking deeply into the heart of reality. That is Vipassana. To see the true nature of things. Practicing Vipassana enables me to let go of everything I am searching for, my desires and my fears. So in this verse we have a definition of what is Vipassana. And that is to be able to be in touch with things as they really are. Normally we are in touch with things as they are not. And that is why we need to stop. And in order to be closer to the true nature of things, conceptually or even non-conceptually, maybe we will never be in touch with things as they actually are 100%, because we are limited by our perceptions. But we can get much closer to the way things are. And that is our intention, because the closer we are to the way things are, the less suffering we will have. So this is a general definition of vipassana. And then we see what is the result. The result of our practice of vipassana is a letting go. A letting go of searching, of craving, and of fear. But now we need to go into how we're going to practice before we get to the result. So in the next verse, we understand what is the basis of our being able to practice vipassana. And again, we see the result. Dwelling peacefully in the present moment, transforming habit energies, gives rise to understanding. And understanding here means insight, gives rise to the insight that we need, freeing me from the afflictions and pain. Dwelling peacefully in the present moment is what we talked about last time. Being able to come back to the island within oneself and dwell there peacefully. If you remember the discourse on knowing the better way to live alone, there is a line in the poem that the Buddha gives at the beginning of that discourse. And it says something like, the Dharma which is arising in the present moment, the practitioner looks deeply at, right here, right here. So this sutra on knowing the better way to live alone is all about not running into the future and not running back into the past, but able to stay right there with what is happening. And the thing we stay with is the Dharma which is arising in the present moment. And Dharma here, it doesn't mean Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. Dharma here means the object of our mind. We can stay and see the object of our mind which is arising in the present moment. So we are not carried away by it. So this is very important basis for being able to arrive at an insight, dwelling peacefully in the present moment. And dwelling peacefully in the present moment, it means that we are not thinking. We have to turn off our non-stop thinking in order to be in touch. And what happens when we turn off our thinking? What happens to the energy which we use when we are thinking? We put that energy into feeling, so that instead of thinking, we feel. We feel our body as it is in the present moment. We feel our feelings. We feel what is going on in us without needing to comment or conceptualize about it. And that is the way in order to stop our thinking. It doesn't mean to have a blank. And in the Anapanasati Sutta, we have the second field of mindfulness is the feelings, and the first feeling we get in touch with is the feeling of joy. So when we can stop our thinking, which is the root of our worries, of our fears, of our craving, then we can feel we can feel joy. Just feeling our body is joy, and is happiness. So that is what is meant by dwelling peacefully in the present moment. And then the next line is about transforming habit energies. It's not enough to dwell peacefully in the present moment. There is a need for transformation of our mind. And this is often referred to as purification of our mind. And last time we mentioned Master Tang Hoi, the master who is our first our ancestral meditation master from Vietnam. And he wrote about the practice of meditation, dhyana, that can take us to the other shore. And he wrote an introduction to his chapter on, he wrote a book on the 6 paramitas, the 6 practices that can take us to the other shore. And he wrote an introduction to I think we don't have extant all the chapters, but in the introduction to the chapter on meditation that can take us to the other shore, he makes it very clear how we need to purify our mind in order to be able to understand and look deeply. And purification of our mind is not something that just takes place and then is finished, because our mind is always being, always things coming into our mind and leaving our mind. So purification is something we are doing all our time, or all our life. We don't get to a point, I've purified my mind, okay, stop. Because if we stop there, then our mind will pick up impurities again. So normally when we talk about purifying our mind, we talk about the hindrances that are in our mind. The hindrances for us to be able to see things clearly. These are called the 5 hindrances, the 5 nivarana. So when we are talking about transformation, we are talking about transformation of our mind. And this means removing the hindrances or transforming the hindrances. There are 5 hindrances. The first is kamachanda, is sensual desire. And the second hindrance is normally translated as malice. Malice means that you have a mind that does not want the well-being of others. You have a mind that wants your own well-being, but you don't want the well-being of something or someone other. So usually we translate as malice. You can also translate as aversion. Dislike, something you don't like, someone you don't like. This is when your mind is heavy, when your mind is not wholly awake. And we have to be careful because sometimes in our practice we get into a mode of doing the outer form of the practice, but we are not really awake in the present moment doing the outer form. So you may be walking and reciting the gatha for walking, but somehow you're not really there. Your mind is sinking down. And I think you should have two L's. I don't know, but it looks funny, huh? And the next one is when our mind is not at peace, when our mind is agitated. It is said that none of the wholesome mental formations can be present. So it is very necessary to be able to know how to bring peace back into our mind. Then the other wholesome mental formations can be there. Remorse is when we have done something we know we should not have done. We've done something that harmed ourselves and harmed others. And we keep thinking about that. And so our mind becomes agitated because of that. And that is a hindrance. It stops us from having clear insight into how things are. So we have to learn how to take care of our remorse, how to take care of that feeling that we've done something that hurt us and hurt someone else. And the way to take care is to be able to look in your meditation. All of these things, maybe we come back to how to meditate with them when we've put them all up. Huh? And the last is doubt. Or suspicion. Doubt and suspicion. I have not really found my path. I still doubt whether this is really my path. And the reason I haven't found my path is I haven't found fulfillment when I practice. I've tried to do the practice, but it did not bring any peace, any joy into my life. And so I doubt that it's the right practice. And I cannot possibly practice when that doubt is there. I have to be able to know that this is the path and that I'm on the path and go on it with confidence in myself and confidence in the path. And when we hear the sound of the bell, we practice something which is called coming into phase, like sometimes molecules do in scientific experiments. And coming into phase, for us, it means all of us coming together, doing the same thing at the same time. So we feel our oneness as a Sangha body. You feel your oneness as your own body, your oneness in your own body, but you also feel the oneness of the Sangha body. These are the 5 hindrances that we need to transform. And we can transform them during our daily practice and during our sitting meditation and walking meditation. So there are what we call antidotes for these hindrances. And the antidote for sensual desire, I think you can remember the Samiti Sutta, which I've forgotten. Huh? When you see the true nature of desire, the mind of desire will not arise. When the mind of desire does not arise, no one will be able to tempt you. This is the 14th breathing of the Anapanasati Sutta, which is called the fading away of desire. So in your daily life, because our mind has these impurities, so the desire comes up, thinking that you want to have something which will satisfy your senses. Somebody has promised to give you something that you think would be very good for you to have, but then they don't give it to you. And so your mind is going toward, I wish I had that thing. It's also called covetousness. So you notice that and you practice mere recognition. Now my mind is going to that. But maybe you are having a telephone conversation or you're doing something where you cannot give your whole attention to dealing with that mental formation. And so you say to yourself, this evening or whenever the next sitting is, I will practice with the 14th breathing in order to take care of this desire which is clouding my mind, which is an impurity in my mind. And so we remind ourselves that that is something I have to look into. And that 14th breathing says, contemplating the non-desirability of all things I breathe in, contemplating the non-desirability of things I breathe out. And so you have to see that this thing that you have been promised is not necessary. Is not going to make the world perfect. And your keep thinking about it is bringing you hardship and bringing others hardship. So you see clearly, I don't need that thing. I can live very well without that thing, dwelling in the present moment. And when you do that, it won't come up again. You have seen the nature of desire, which is there is a separate me in the present moment who needs that. And in the future, that separate me will be the same as the separate me in the present moment. But that is not the teaching of impermanence. You are changing at every moment. The thing you desire is changing at every moment. So that is, deal with that. The second thing, this also includes jealousy. When we when we feel jealous, we think that person succeeded. But why didn't I succeed? Or I want to succeed. I don't want the other person to succeed. Well, that kind of thinking comes up sometimes. And that is what is here. I don't want someone else to be happy. I don't want someone else to succeed. And when we bring that to our meditation, we have to. So we put this here, When we have that mental formation come up in us, and we can't deal with it straight away, we merely recognize it, and then in our sitting meditation, we know what we have to do. We have to practice the loving kindness meditation. May I be happy, peaceful, and light in my body and my mind. May you, the person I'm jealous of, I don't want to succeed, may you be happy, peaceful, and light in your mind and in your body. So in order to be able to have enough happiness and peace to transfer to the other person, you have to have it in yourself. Shantideva said that if you have not even dreamt of your own happiness, how can you dream of other people's happiness? How can you make others happy? So you have to really feel your happiness in you. And then you look at the other person and you feel, yes, I want them to be happy. I want them to be peaceful. Because you've got enough happiness and peace already, it's easy. The fire is already burning. So it's easy to put a wet log on, it will also burn. The practice of Maitri. When we have no inspiration in our practice, when our practice becomes like a blunt knife, normally when you want to cut carrots, you need to have a sharp knife, but after a while the knife will be blunt and you need to use a whetstone in order to sharpen it again. And sometimes in our practice it's like that. We, we, uh, we get a little bit too familiar with it. And it isn't interesting anymore. So we really need our Sangha friends, we need our teachers to inspire us in the practice. And we need to we need to have Dharma talks, we need to have materials which inspire our practice. We have to know when our practice is not inspiring us anymore and do something about it quickly. Don't let that state carry on. In the Vipassana tradition, they talk about the dreaming elephant. That is when you look, maybe you look like you're practicing mindfulness, but in fact, you're very heavy inside and you're like in a dream. So here you need the new inspiration. Huh? You need to study, but study things that can, not things that are just knowledge for you to store up. Study things that inspire. Remorse you need to bring to your meditation. Something you have done. You wish you had not done it, but it's too late. You already did it. So why? Why did you do that? Because you lack understanding. Because you lacked mindfulness. So first of all, you have to see yourself doing that thing or saying that thing you wished you hadn't said. And then you see, in your meditation, you see, I lacked understanding. I lacked mindfulness. That is why I did that. I didn't want to hurt that person. I didn't want to hurt myself, but I did because of my lack of mindfulness. So you look deeply to see that. And you have to admit to yourself that that wound from what I did is still there. It is still there in me, and it is still there in the other person. We cannot run away from that fact. And having seen that the wound is still there in us, we then look deeply and with all our heart, we say, I am sorry. And I'm sorry for myself, and I am sorry to you. And if we haven't already written to or spoken to the other person to say that, it's a little bit late, we should have done. But now we can do that with our whole heart. And the second part of that is, when we say I'm sorry, it means I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to speak like that again. And that is a deep vow, a commitment that we make with ourselves and with the other person. I will not do that again. I don't know what to put here, it's too long. But it needs to be transformed. If it keeps agitating, you need to do this meditation until it transforms. This is forgiveness to yourself. If you have a suspicion about another person, you need to be able to bring that to your meditation, a little bit like the Maitri meditation, and see that the other person, you have to see the good qualities of the other person. In law, and still someone is proved to be guilty, they are innocent. And we have to practice that too. We suspect someone, but we don't know. So we practice to see all their good qualities. That will help them as well as us. And then we have doubt, or should I do this or should I do that? That also that also disturbs our mind. And one thing I think we need to be able to see is that whether I do this or whether I do that is not so important. The important thing is how I do it, not what I do. So if I do something in mindfulness, whether it's this or whether it's that, whether I do something with understanding and compassion, it's not so important as what I do, but how I do it. So, this is the way that we recognize the hindrances, and we practice to purify them. So we always learn from our teacher that there is no way to purification. Purification is the way. There is no way to transformation. Transformation is the way. And so that we are all on the way. And this means that with every little bit of purification, we can have a little bit of success in our looking deeply. So we don't wait until our mind is completely pure in order to be able to look deeply. And now we want to look at what the ancestral teachers have taught us about looking deeply, what we need to look deeply into. And so we have the verse number 8. Impermanence is one with non-self. Non-self is one with interdependent origination, is one with emptiness, is one with conventional designation, is one with the middle way, is one with interbeing. So we have many things to look into. Impermanence, no self, condition co-arising, emptiness, yayan, mere designation, middle way. So now I'm going to write a gatha on the board. And I'm going to write in Sino-Vietnamese. because then I can only think of the English. This gatha is from Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna wrote, or didn't write, I don't know if he wrote it down or his disciple wrote it down for him. The verses on the middle way. In order to, at a time when there was a lot of philosophizing going on in the different Buddhist schools, that is in the 2nd century of the Common Era, Nagarjuna wanted to go back to the source of what the Buddha taught. So he wrote, he taught the verses on the middle way. This is the translation of Kumara Jiva into Chinese, and this is how you write Chinese in Vietnamese. Fat means dharmas, it means the objects of the mind, which arise from causes and conditions. Now I've forgotten the next line. What is the next line? Chum nhân duyên sinh pháp. I'm getting old. I, ngã. Say, that. I, that is Nagarjuna, say that they are empty. I say that they are empty. That is the definition of emptiness. Things that arise from conditions and causes, I say they are empty. That is the meaning of emptiness. Look at yourself. Look at your 5 skandhas. Look at your body. Does it have an I in it? Is there inside of yourself a core, which you call I? Or is outside of your body, is there something which possesses your body, which you call I? You look and you cannot find it. Therefore, you are empty. What are you empty of? You are empty of a self. Because you are there, because your mother, your father were there, all your ancestors were there. That is the causes and conditions. Because planet Earth is there, because the cosmos is there, then you are manifesting. But you cannot find an I or a self inside that manifestation. If you look, you can see all the causes and conditions that bring you here, but you cannot see the I. So that is what I say, that they are empty. Empty means empty of a separate self. So this is causes condition co-arising. This is emptiness. And they are yek, viha, the, and they are yayan. Very like the verse that we have here. Yeah. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And they are, yan means a name, and ya means false. And we translate this as mere designation. Appellation non contrôlée. we have this. Brain, huh? And the brain, it has to grasp the things, to perceive them, to conceptualize about them. And therefore we have to use a language. And our language is really like a convention. It isn't something we agree with each other about so that we can understand each other. If somebody says to me, brother Tien Hoa is sitting at the bell, huh? Then immediately I know Brother Tien Hoa, who that is. Because we agree that that is Brother Tien Hoa. But on a deeper level, is that word Tien Hoa, does it really convey the reality of the brother? No, it doesn't. Because the brother is made up of everything. He's made up of his ancestors, of his education, of his society, of his community. They are all there, but I cannot, every time I want to talk about Tien Hoa, I cannot say all that. So I agree with you, we will call him that. But if I am caught in Tien Hoa, or some idea I have about Tien Hoa, then I have not been in touch with the reality. I have not been able to look deeply. So that is what is meant by conventional designation. These dharmas, these objects of mind which we conceive, they are empty, empty of a separate self. You can also call that conventional designation, because that conventional designation doesn't have any separate self. And so this is the last one that Nagarjuna, this is Trung Dao. And what else are they? All dharmas are Trung Dao. They are the middle way. So the Buddha taught the middle way, which goes beyond being and non-being. So with the middle way, for instance, you have you begin with two extremes. One extreme, you being, things really exist. Tien Hoa really exists. Huh? And then one day in 50 years' time, I don't know, they say, oh, Ting Hoa really does not exist anymore because we have issued a death certificate, therefore he doesn't exist. But if we look deeply, we see that on the one hand, he does not really exist. And on the other hand, there isn't a day when he does not really not exist. He is there because of causes and conditions. And he continues at every moment to be there because of to manifest due to causes and conditions. The air that is being breathed, the food that is being eaten, and so on. These things make possible the manifestation of Ting Hoa. And like we saw in the other one, impermanence. The Ting Hoa who came into this meditation hall an hour ago is not the Ting Hoa who is sitting here now. Cells have died, cells have been born, perceptions have died, perceptions have been born, are changing at every moment. So there's no core, no self. So if you imagine one extreme is being, huh? He really is, he keeps being like that. And then the other extreme is non-being. So that is not the middle way. The middle way is here. And it is to be able to see that there is something our language cannot express, that is between being and non-being. And actually, Thầy, our teacher, has done us a great favor and has given us the word interbeing, which we can say is the middle way between being and non-being. In fact, science is beginning to talk in this kind of way, these terms. Only can be in relation. You can only be in relation. What you are, I am like this because you are like that. We can only be in relation with something. We manifest in relationship in the present moment. So interbeing is, you are happy, I am happy. So we come back to the first object of our meditation, which is impermanence. We have a meditation that says, I am of the nature To grow old. There is no escape from growing old. You might say that, well, impermanence is no self. So how can you say, I am of the nature to grow old? You already say there is a self. And now you say that that self grows old as the subject of your meditation. It's very important, as Nagarjuna points out, to see that there are two kinds of truth. There is the conventional truth, and there is the ultimate truth. And the ultimate truth is that you will not find an I. But the conventional truth is the fact that we use the word I all the time. And therefore we can use it in our meditation. So I am of the nature to grow old. Why do we say that to ourselves? Because we have the deep fear inside of us of growing old. And therefore we need to look at that fear. We don't look at it. When the fear comes up, we do something, play a piece of music or do something to keep it down. But in our meditation we don't get that chance. I am of the nature to grow old. Somebody said to me once, I don't need to do that meditation anymore because I'm already old. That is just an excuse. Yeah. I'm already old, but I still do that meditation. So if you have that objection, please do as I do. You look deeply and you visualize someone who is much older than you are. There will always be someone like that. And you see their body is more decayed than you are. And you tell yourself, that person is not different from me. I also am like that. I am of that nature. My body is of that nature to grow old. And that is wonderful meditation because it helps you face the fear, and it also helps you at the same time to see that you still have, you can still practice the 10 mindful movements, which the person you visualize, it cannot practice anymore. I am of the nature to have ill health. That is also something we are quite afraid of. Having ill health, having to be dependent on others to take care of us. But we have to invite that up, that fear up. We invite up the somebody we have seen in the hospital, and we say, yes, that is me lying there. I am of the nature to die. There's no escape. We all know that intellectually, but somehow we think, oh, I will always be there. Other people may die, but I'll be there. And we have to see our body lying on the hospital bed, our dead body. We have to see the coffin being pushed into the flames or being buried. And then we feel, oh, I'm still alive. I can do certain things, and life is a miracle. And if we are looking deeply, and we may realize that there is old age, there is ill health, there is suffering, there is happiness, but there is no I. There is no self who dies, who gets sick. And when you get sick, I think you may experience that. Before you got sick, you thought about the I who will be sick. But now you are sick, you see that that I is not what you were thinking about before. You are just there in the present moment, experiencing, there is an experiencing of sickness. But there is no I that is being in ill health. And similarly, for our dear Mother Earth, we need also to practice to see that she is impermanent. Now she is doing her best to cope with getting hotter. And the way she is doing that is by giving us a lot of rain, trying to cool herself down. But maybe she cannot keep doing that forever. And we know that one day the earth will no longer have life on it. That is sure. We don't know when, but we know there will be a day. And so we need in our meditation to be able to see the earth in that state of transformation with no more life on the earth. And in theory, that could be 1 billion of years away because Father's Son will still be there. But if we human species carry on like we are doing, then that will happen much sooner. But anyway, the earth is impermanent. And just as when you accept your own impermanence, you can live in a clear-sighted way. When you accept the impermanence of the earth, you can live in a clear-sighted way that helps the earth to continue. Like this orchid. An orchid can live for a long time, but it depends on the person looking after it. Look after it properly. If you don't look after it, then it will not live for a long time. So we look at verse 9. Emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness liberate me from suffering. so that in my daily practice I am not caught in mere intellectual understanding. Emptiness, we have already seen, means the absence of a separate self. You do not have a separate self, and the orchid also does not have a separate self. If we do not look after the orchid with the water, the sunlight or the light, then we take the water out, we take the sunlight out, there will be no orchid there. Signlessness is about transforming the way our brain has of putting things into boxes. So in the Diamond Sutra, there are many, many boxes that our brain puts things in order for us to be able to cognize those things. But we will talk about 4, and those boxes are called signs. So we talk about 4 of them. And the first one is the sign myself, Atman. The second one is the sign human being. The third one is the sign living being. And the fourth one is the sign lifespan. So when I have an idea of myself, I put myself in a box so that I'm easy for me to go to that box and take out the perception of me. But while I do that, I put you in another box, which is called other. So as soon as I have self, I have to have other, another box. And so I cannot see that my happiness and your happiness are one and the same. My suffering and your suffering are one and the same. So then the next box is the one is called a human being. So we put all the human beings into a box, and every other species we may put into another box, just one box for all species except the human species. Actually, the human species is a kind of mammal, is a kind of, what do you call it, monkey? Huh? Oh, a primate, don't I? We should be in the same box as the primates. But we are not. We are in a separate box, and the primates are something different. That is a little bit our brain that does things like that. So, we see already these boxes, they are not in accord with reality. And the fact that they are not in accord with reality is bringing about a lot of suffering. The suffering of climate change. So then after that box, we have another box. It's called living being. So often in Buddhist teachings, we use the term living being. And when we recite the 5 contemplations, we use the word living being. Sometimes we use the word living being. This means that we have a box, we put all the living beings, and there is a box, we put the non-living beings. So it does not help us because we feel that some things are just matter. And maybe we feel that Mother Earth is just matter. And she is there in order to serve the one box, which is called the human being box. But Mother Earth is a living being. Even scientists have told us that Gaia is a living being. And we have to take her out of that box of being matter. When we practice the walking meditation, we feel the contact between Mother Earth and the sole of our foot. We should feel that as a living being under my feet who is receiving my love and my understanding. And at the same time, I am receiving her love and understanding. So these parts of our brain, even those neuroscientists who practice mapping the brain, they have actually found the part of the brain which is the box for I, and the part of the brain which is the box for human being, and the part of the brain which is the box for living being. And if that part of the brain is damaged in someone, they will not be able to distinguish living being from non-living being. So we can see that it's useful because if that part of your brain is damaged, somebody gives you a fluffy ball, you will not be able to see it's different from a dog. So we need that part of our brain to. But at the same time, we need to be able to transcend that part of the brain because it is only useful in a certain context. It's not useful for us to be able to save our planet. We have to go beyond that. And the fourth sign is the sign lifespan. And that lifespan, it goes along with your birth certificate and your death certificate. It is the time between your birth certificate and your death certificate. And although you need these things to be able, or you need the birth certificate, maybe not, to make a passport, they are not very useful apart from that. So we learn to see that we are just a continuation of our ancestors. And being caught in the sign lifespan can bring a lot of fear. Fear of death, the death of ourselves, the death of our loved one. And it is our practice to remove that sign lifespan in order to be able to see the no birth, no death nature of our loved ones and of ourselves. And the third Dharma seal is the Dharma seal of aimlessness. It's also called Vonguen, it's also called vowlessness. And the explanation that is given of aimlessness in the discourse on the Dharma seal is that the consciousness and the object of the consciousness are not two separate realities. Consciousness is impermanent, is always in a state of change. And the thing that we consider to be the object of consciousness outside of ourselves is also impermanent and subject to change. And when we can see that the consciousness and the object of consciousness are not two separate realities, but they arise together at the same time. When you perceive something, that thing is arising at the same time as your perception of it is arising. It is not that that thing is always like that out there, and my consciousness is always like that in here, and from time to time they meet each other as the same thing as they were before. It isn't like that. That thing out there is arising because your consciousness is arising in the same time, and your consciousness is impermanent as that thing is. So when we talk about aimlessness, we cannot aim for something in the future because it depends on our consciousness and the thing arising together. And in the Sutra on the Pure Land, it says that at that very moment when you make the vow to be born in the Pure Land, you are already there. You're already in the Pure Land. This is something difficult to understand. We make a vow from time to time. When an aspirant kneels down to become a monastic, at that time they make the deep vow to practice the monastic life in order to help all beings. Shaving my head completely, I make the great vow today. You're helping now to transform all my afflictions. You're helping now, độ thoát thế rồi. And to độ thoát cho rồi. And to rescue all beings. So when we kneel down and we make that vow, we are not aiming for something in the future. We are actually doing it at that present moment. And a vow is always like that. We have to be doing it in the present moment in order for it to be real. It is not thinking like, oh, out there sometime in the future there will be a me saving all beings. But now I'm like this. It isn't like that. Now my consciousness can manifest the saving all beings. So that is aimlessness. It does not mean you do not have a deep vow, a deep aspiration. So I am not caught in mere intellectual understanding. Mere intellectual understanding is when there is an object that you understand outside of yourself. But here we see that the outer and the inner are not two separate realities. They arise in dependence on each other. That is the practice of Bohanhan, of non-practice, the non-practice practice. We did not get there yet. We are still learners. We are still practicing. We put our whole heart into the practice. We have confidence in the practice. And we know that there is no way to enlightenment. Enlightenment is the way. We can touch enlightenment. We can have little enlightenments at any moment of our life. And now we will listen to 3 sounds of the bell.